Hello. I am going to see what I can do about getting my mic less staticky. Alright, let me know, is that okay? The music might be a little bit loud, 1 second. Alright, that might be good. Alright, let's go with that. Alright. Let's take a look at some of these options. Alright, does this work? Oh, nice. I have some really good noise suppression plugins from OBS, thank God. Alright, I have some drawings here that I did on the side that I want to reference for some of these. Just gonna see what I can do about, there's this guy where we wanted to try and figure out a way to get in less of a cloak look and much more of a sort of armored look here, kind of built out instead for the cleric. I think that's going to start with something like this. Hey. Hey, I was gonna ask, did you end up taking a look at some of the the class stuff that I was working on a little bit earlier? I didn't check to see if anybody saw anything. I had a really long conversation with Sean though. Well, it wasn't that long, but. Oh, class. I'm gonna have to. I think one thing that I need to do, or that would probably be helpful. Actually, I wonder. I have some comments in the thread. Okay? Let me check. Sorry, I didn't check that. Let's take a look and. Yeah, I had a conversation with Sean as well about bards having plate, and I was like, whoa. I understand that EQ has it, but I just as like a as someone that's not really from that, I'm like maybe like a breastplate, but that's a little wild. Yeah, they definitely are, and I think the reason why that ends up happening is because they go really heavy on they go really heavy on what's it called, on like some of these shapes, especially like I guess the wizard hat. Like if I were to draw these, that's one thing. Like I think a lot of it has to do with me drawing them in a certain style. Like if I were to draw them in a different way, it would look different. Like the same way as if I were to paint these realistically. Actually, I might just do that just to show that it's like it's not. Well, even to prove to myself actually that it's not like too crazy, because I did this with like an ink brush pen, and usually a lot of the original Final Fantasy artwork was done with this ink brush as well. Yeah, it was really jarring to me. So I was like, wait, hold on, what's happening to class archetypes? Felt really jarring. And it's something that I like. This was my that's one thing that I'd like to do, is I like to go in without knowing much about, let's say, how specifically EQ did it, knowing the references that they pulled from, and then going with kind of my gut reaction on how I think a class might look like or something like that, and then or like a class or a race or a monster or whatever the heck, seeing how that goes, and then if it goes well, and if it doesn't go well, like, okay, well, where's the in between? Or not even sometimes it's an in between, sometimes it's just, hey, you need to pull back it and make it really look like, like you're still part of and know of some of this other world. Probably doesn't help that, hey, I'm playing Final Fantasy music. Maybe that subconsciously got in there. Oh yeah, it felt very like what's it called? Felt very, very weird to, well, and the clerics having like plate, I'm like, that makes sense. But then as far as like a class design wise, like I don't know, maybe Nick has his own uh, opinions on balancing and everything, but aesthetically, it's like that also really like as someone that enjoys class division and class identity a whole lot, I thought to myself, whoa, like isn't that stepping on the paladin's like turf a whole lot? You know, that sort of thing where a cleric is wearing plate. And you know, so that those thoughts definitely came up into my mind. But what I think is what's end up gonna happen, what I think what is going to end up happening, jeez, is that the majority of what's it called, or what I think is gonna happen is we're gonna have shoulders, headpieces possibly be exclusive geo. Not exclusive, I mean like class-based geo. Geometry, that is. And then but we're not going to do this thing where like World of Warcraft, where we just slam down like, hey, look how like the aesthetic is almost exclusively defined by these geos. Because on WoW, that's the direction that they took. They took, here's your shoulders, and then you have for mages, it's this where the mage's aesthetic is pretty much this. It goes down like this. And then the warlock's aesthetic is something like this. And it's almost all defined by their shadow and helmet, or sorry, shoulder and helmet. We have a couple more things that we can play with, I think, because of how we're approaching robes, but then also like over robes. And then also we're able to use the head and shoulders to help with the silhouette a bit. We're gonna be able to use that for sure, but it also doesn't mean that we're just using that. We're gonna and especially with exaggeration of shape. Like I have some exaggerated shapes here and there, like here I have the Shaman, and what I would imagine is that we'd actually take this down and make it much more like this or something. Just take the shapes, see how little we can make them, or how like grounded we can make them without going too crazy. And there's going to be certain things that push away from that, like the Shadow Knight here. Oh yeah, well the what I've kind of decided how I'm going to approach it is that there's going to be, because I've given this decent amount of thought before I was even on this project, but also now that I'm on this project, I kind of revisited my thoughts from a totally different perspective. But one of the things that I'm super excited about is very simple shapes that are iconic. Not even shapes, but like let's say motifs that you can hammer on, like a certain type of hat or a certain slight shape design, but then also cloak length that breaks up the body in different ways. So we're able to play with textures and cloak length and shoulders and hoods, but also in very like small, like iconic I guess the like very small focus shapes, I guess. And working our way up to like, because I looked at some of the concept art that was, because we did some concept art stuff before, and it came from like a quick talk with them. So I'm not saying that their concepts are, you know, like bad in quality in any way, but I just don't think they hit the mark of what Sean wants, and also what I think it would need for it to be grounded, because they had some really epic stuff all of a sudden where it's like, hey, this is what epic and cool looks like, bigger and better and has more detail. And I'm almost thinking the opposite, which is like you have like the most simple thing that's almost that aesthetic, right? That's almost the quintessential thing, but then like the biggest and best thing is actually the most quintessential thing. So like an example would be like, this was one that I had for the Druid, where she has this headpiece, and I'm actually thinking of like taking this headpiece and making it like really small, like probably half the size. But that half moon that's almost eclipsed looks really, really cool. Yeah, I think we're looking at some sort of cloak that either goes around the shoulders, but we're not sure about the cloak on the back. The cloak on the back might go around the shoulders. Unsure about that. We haven't created the geo for that, but we do want geo, for example, that goes like this. See here that we have like that. So there's like something that can go over the arm. You can just forget about that as well on some pieces. So yeah, and then, but all this stuff is going to be like custom for each race, and then each sex of each race. So like you're gonna have a sort of different, the deep gnome aesthetic of like a mage or something, versus like they're not just the same model. You know what I mean? Yeah, so like that's how I think we're going to tackle some of that. We'll see though. So like for example, they wanted a like specifically, hey, maybe let's relax on the cloak stuff for the cleric, and let's hit up some yeah, relax on the cloak stuff a little bit on the cleric, and hit up a little bit more of plate and stuff. And I think I might argue at some point for maybe not plate, but definitely chainmail, because then it doesn't completely sit on the paladins. And this is from an aesthetic point, and I don't know how it would change gameplay, but it's something I'll ask before, just because from like an overview, it doesn't step on each other's like place. Like because yeah, while it fits aesthetically, or it doesn't clash necessarily, but yeah, there's definitely room for class division there. And class division helps with class identity and everything. So it's gonna be with over tunics. Yeah, and maybe it's just me, but I'm like, is that really enough? Is like a tunic the only thing that's gonna separate us from what's it called? From a paladin and a cleric? Hard to say. I'm gonna throw a couple of designs in though, and we'll see. Yeah, I mean the as far as separating the healers, even if they're the same, let's say class, or sorry, like a tier class as far as like what items they can pull from. Something that I do notice is that, again, this is from a like aesthetic point, is paladins pull from this holy religious sort of like righteous aesthetic playbook, you know. So you get these whites and golds, and then a paladin might be more gold than white, you know. But they're both pulling from this religious thing, and then they're also pulling from the same tier. Well, the shaman and a cleric pull almost next to nothing from each other when it comes to aesthetics. And again, I'm here, I think, to try and marry aesthetic and gameplay a little bit, so I might step on a lot of toes when I say, hey, this actually kind of conflicts a lot, and I'll definitely say sorry. But I'm not gonna. Yeah, I want to speak my opinion as well. Yeah, there's like battle clerics and stuff like that. Something that I was also talking to Sean about was something as simple as like whether or not you're going to be able to wear something from another class. And I said, well, yeah, we definitely, you know, like we can wear something from another class. This is what we ended up agreeing on. We can wear something from another class, but it doesn't mean that like I want to design it for all classes, you know. Like I still want there to be like a class aesthetic that like eventually you'll or that will be there within the game for you to choose. So like a cleric looking fucking cleric is gonna look like this, but that doesn't mean that you can't wear plate if you want to, you know, or if you're building it a little bit differently or something. Doesn't mean that those are options that are just unavailable to you. This conversation actually happened with the bard. We were like, like do we want to tackle this, you know, like a bard with plate? And then we started talking about, well, that is a little EQ weirdness going on, but I also thought to myself, like as far as aesthetically, it really hurt to think about, to be completely honest. There's like, I think EQ is definitely commendable in a lot of ways. I've been watching a lot of streams just from the community on the game, because I don't know much about it myself, and I'm absolutely in love with the pacing. Everybody seems to be having a really good time who's playing. Like everybody's pretty chill. Nobody's like getting mad or anything. And I thought to myself, like, oh, that's nice. Like I like that. I like that feel. But as far as aesthetically, there's some things that I would definitely and am definitely trying to be like, we should look at this. Yeah, same. That's literally my experience. It was animations, I cannot. So you're probably an aesthetic player like myself. Like I really care about aesthetics when it comes to video games. And so that conversation happened. What do you think about this? And this is another thing. We had that really long conversation about whether or not there should be chat bubbles, and there's something that has to be said about like really good feeling like UI and GUI and stuff like that, and something that I think that is left on the table is things like that, like something like a simple what's it called, like text animation or something, where you say something, right? And maybe there's like this where it pops up. Let's see if I can get it. I'm sorry, I need to hold on. Yeah, let me. Oh, I did way too much. Oh, and then I did this. All right, let me make a new layer here. So a good example is this. So we have like a little dot that shows up. Like even if we had something like this, and you're gonna, where it goes, 1 second, where it goes woo woo, or something like where it has that bounce and it's just juice added to the game. I personally love bubbles, and I think it's a thing that you know, but that's the idea. It's just like there's when you have it down in the corner, that it's not at all juicy, and there's a reason why people really dislike that. And I think on the art department, I think the EQ is definitely like there's a style that we want to definitely reference, but we also don't want to make the same mistakes as far as like lack of animation and quality, and but then it's also like certain texture quality. Like we want it to be quality, not like stretched, you know, like one color where we have like a really cool texture here, and then like it hits this part and it's stretched all the way across the shoulder or something in like a band of undetail. Like we don't want to fall into things like that. We don't want to mimic some of their technical artistic problems, and a lot of it might have been the skill of the artist, but also a lot of it might have been the technical, what's it called, technical limitation. So like again, I don't want to spit on any artist's face or anything like that for sure, but it's like there's I think a new standard for sure. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. There's a lot of people that prefer it, right? And I've looked at that and I've gone, you know what? Like, there's a reason why, like, you know, people are going back into here. There's a way that I was looking at it before, which was very like, it's an antisocial game design, and I think that might be the wrong way of putting it, but it is definitely a anti-juice game design, or anti-juice sort of thing, which is like it doesn't feel great, and I'm wondering like where that line is. And again, I'm not the game designer, but I have thought about some of this stuff before, and especially engaging in lots of different opinions. It's like, oh, you know what, I'm definitely not always right, you know, like objectively right. There's especially for different audiences and stuff. So I do need to check myself here and there. There's like this there's this one element, and I don't want to talk about the chat thing too much, mostly because I realize that it's like, ooh, what if I, one second, I just thought of something. What if I did this? I had, this is like chainmail. Yeah, because I don't want to just talk about some of that stuff, especially because it is so divided, and I definitely want to talk to the team about it more before I just talk about it on because I did see some really good value of like really keeping this screen clean. You know, that was one of the biggest, strongest arguments for me, was when people were talking about keeping the screen clean and then having the chat, you know, off to the side or something. But then there's also this element of like, well, if you're keeping the screen clean, then why do we have usernames there too? And so there's like this conflicting set of rules where it's like, well, it's good because you know, the names are a priority or something. But if names are a priority, then socially maybe the chat should be a priority. Yeah, exactly. They're toggleable. Oh. Yeah, I wonder. Is that going to be the same? Or do you have a good PC now? You'll be able to run this game, for sure. And that's the thing, it's like I'm also thinking, well, the chat would also exist in the corner there, right? It would only be slash like S or something that would ever show up, and it would only show up locally. So it'd be like here, and it doesn't even need to have a chat box. It could be something as simple as, you know, like has a 12 character limit or something, and then it goes ... and then you have to switch your eye from here down into the corner, and then that's fine. It's not that hard to look somewhere else. But the idea that there's like the reason why I call it antisocial design is mostly because I've played or not EQ, it was ESO just for a little bit, and they had it where you could enable it, but because it wasn't by default, most people didn't have it that way. And most people didn't go into the settings and be like, you know what? I actually want chat and I want to engage with people. And so because they never even thought of it, they didn't even have the chance to be, let's say, talked to or tried having someone try and get the attention of them, like in front of them, being like, hello. And then there's like that kinetic sort of feeling that feels really good about not having to tell them to look, you know, like, hey, I'm trying to talk to you, I'm right beside you, or I'm right in front of you, or, you know, something like that. There's like all those things that just don't need to happen if it's just right here and it's a little hello and it's very minimal. Damn. So that's the, and so like I also, there's like there's an element also, hi Connor, there's an element of this being like uh the reason that I'm kind of saying, hey, well, at least let's approach it some way or somehow, um is because again, we're seeming to be a very much more social game than uh, any modern MMO, that's for sure. And it feels antisocial almost to also do the design that they are doing, which is chat down, not connected to your character. Because most MMOs don't do chat like that. Or not most, but some don't do chat like that, and it hurts me. Physically, it hurts me. But yeah, that's... I'll stop talking about chat and I'll start talking about class design. Shape design, that sort of thing. I think cowbell would actually work with these guys. Like a bell here or something. I'm not sure about objects hanging off it. We might not have a thing for that. I feel more cleric to everybody here that's EQ fans. I'd imagine a witch would be something like you play like an enchantress or something. That kind of fits the bill a little bit. But also a necromancer. We do have a necromancer. That also kind of fits the bill a bit. We also have a shaman. So that can also sort of fit the bill a bit. There's overlaps where I think which is kind of, and also you can play a troll. So that might work. There's a I have no reason I'm spitballing. Also, most of the classes were not chosen by me. I wonder, is there something I could place here? I just think if I do it, it's gonna end up competing with Paladin. I should probably do a Paladin here soon, just to see how much overlap is actually there. Because maybe I'm doing it the wrong way, but I like the chainmail dress though. It's kind of nice. Kind of fits. What do you guys think about the chainmail dress? I think it bridges that gap from like super heavily armored to yeah, super heavily armored to not or to like kind of like a priest. hits that cleric vibe, I think. Yeah, those will be race specific. So in this case, this is like a combination of a gnome, I think. Well, actually, hold on. Is this a gnome? This is a gnome. Or sorry, if this is a halfling, which it is, they wouldn't have those boots. Ah, shoot. Yeah. Just like that, concept art lies to you. I guess they would. I really like the idea of like a halfling always having like their bare feet up, but I guess it doesn't really make sense in some cases. So it's maybe we'll have options. Always show feet. You know how it's like always show face. Halflings have the option always show feet. I don't know if EQ has hide helm options or if that's even like a thing. Because again, it's a okay. What do you think about this? It's kind of like it. Yo, Panas, what do you think? Tell me the truth. Don't sugarcoat it. Damn. We'll have to change that. Still in the cleric ballpark. Alright, well, let's I just want to see maybe what is it? Do they really? Okay, what about the hood? I don't know. Maybe not. Probably not. Knowing goblins. Yeah, Patas, what does that mean clerics wear helmets? Like plate helmets? I was just trying to think what's the major difference between a like the pure aesthetic difference. Yeah, Shaman feels about right. Maybe Druid. There's a possibility because the type of goblins that they are that they could go Druid. Maybe not Cleric though. What I was gonna ask is, how do we have this, what's it called? Once I do the, Usually I think circlets for clerics, but that's just me. Is circlet a plate though? Is that plate? Not a full face head covering. Yeah, this is the challenge. It's like, because we're going so heavily based off of this other inspiration, making these class designs are really challenging a lot of people's ideas of what a class is. And this happened the exact same way with races, but we found our way. Yeah, because I have Enchanter with this sort of like crown slash hood, which is, I think it's a really good motif. It has like this element of like not it's like an enchantment sort of like thing where you're like, hey, let's some people do it with like jewel crafting or something. I don't know if that's the way, but I kind of liked the idea of that. Maybe something like that, but also maybe something like this instead. Alright, I'll have to explore this plate cleric thing. Cause it's hard for me to get around. The Necromancer, I was thinking we could do like even like these tall hoods. So there was this other idea of how each class would have two different types of geometry for their class. Well, it would be four basically. So there'd be their custom head and their custom shoulders, but then they'd have a novice head, novice shoulder, novice. Maybe they could probably just do novice head. But then they also have the cooler, whatever, like more iconic. Doesn't mean it's like bigger or anything, but more iconic version of whatever the heck that they had. And so, for example, like a wizard hat could get taller. You know, you get the taller wizard hat as you go on. Or like you can get like an even spikier robe or something, or hood, where you're like, well, it's creepy or whatever. Maybe even like some downward spikes or something. I don't know. For the Necromancer. So there's like this element of it's not necessarily like bigger is better, but at the same time, just like a more pronounced like features, I guess, that make it more iconic. So you start with less iconic. You start with like oh, that's not exactly a wizard's hat. You know what I mean? Something like that. So you can almost play the fantasy until you invest more time, and then you're really playing the fantasy. It's like, again, I had these ideas for the bard, and these ideas are, I think they're okay, but then to like put plate on them, I'm like, whoa, that's wild. Didn't translate as well as I thought though. I kind of like it, but not quite. It's all about the brim size with wizard's hats. When it starts flopping down is when you know you're super powerful. Oh yeah, so it's like this versus like this. Yeah, and actually, I was thinking about this with the brim size would be for bard actually. So you'd have this like you'd have two things. One is you have this like floppy thing, right? And then you also, as you get bigger and better, whatever, there's like an even bigger brim size with an even bigger, or like longer little tail or whatever. And this is something that I've kind of like. Let's see. I was thinking about how it could translate to plate. Let's read what. Nick, is it okay if I read what you have to say about plate or about current thoughts on armor types: cloth, elementalist, enchanter, necromancer, wizard. Leather, archer, bard, druid, monk, warden. Male, ranger, rogue. Rogue is male? Okay. The only reason I say that is because chainmail is really loud. Anyway, maybe they have something. They have some techniques I don't know about it. Like, and it's not really loud, but like, you know. Oh, swap bard and rogue. All right, male, shaman, spellblade, plate, cleric, fighter, inquisitor, paladin, and shadow knight. So as far as I see it, like I come from another side of things, which is like, you know, if you're a priest, right, you're wearing cloth because you base, you know, you're in your studies and things like that. And so I wonder if it feels like that archetype is not being met. If you want to, is there a healer cloth? Healer clothy? I guess you wouldn't have a healer plate then, I guess. Which would be what people would also want. No, okay. Yeah, Necromancer, there would probably be like off heals, you mean? Alright, let's make a copy of this guy and see where we land. Let's try and make this guy a plate. I'll indulge you guys. I'm not sold on it, but it's part of the job, so. I'm probably going to get a lot of flack as well, just in general, for not playing EQ a whole lot. So I'm sorry on behalf of, or I'm sorry towards our team for any flack that we do get. Yeah, I'd mentioned to oh, paladins are stronger healers. Well, I'm here being like, hey, like, I've always seen them as clothies, you know. But then at the same time, I'm also understanding, like, you know, this is not at all what people know and like. Mind you, it is a different game. But you know, there's like this element that I still want to explore that. And now this dress looks silly. Let's get rid of this. This chain dress looks... Yeah, because as soon as you bring in like plate, what ends up happening is now there's no option for this cloth, I feel like. Because it would be chainmail, not unless you can have like plate skirts, which I don't think exist. And then as soon as you do that, I feel like we're in paladin territory. Like a paladin could wear this and look just as cool or whatever. And that's the thing, like I wonder, like, if a paladin could wear this, like, could wear cloth, you could basically be your, basically, I guess. Yeah, and that's something that I'm like if you are a paladin, you could wear some clothy stuff and look exactly like you would your cleric. So like you would get there, but you just don't have the title cleric, but you can still heal. You're still a religious like aesthetic archetype. Plus you have armor. And so I'm thinking about those things being like, okay, like what's the point of a cleric, I guess, at that point? You know, they play differently, but aesthetically, again, I'm mostly thinking aesthetically, championing that as much as I can. Right, let's do this whole plate thing. So this would go like that. I'd imagine that the So now we have this, which I think looks okay. The reason that you said like circlets? I'd also imagined we'd be going some sort of pauldron. One of the things I was thinking for pauldron or for cleric is that they have this rounded, what's it called? That kind of droops down like that, as their like shape design. Not that shape design champions all, but you want something that goes, oh, that's that, you know. And as far as what I could see, the only thing that I think would make a really big difference is if the clerics ended up having a gray look to them, and then the paladins ended up having a gold armor look. That would be like the only thing that I think would differentiate the two. And I guess circlets. But it's very close for comfort on mine. I'm just, and again, I don't want to I don't want to step on anyone. I'm just really trying to get how I think like out there, I guess, or mention it so people can talk about it. I don't want to always be right, but it is based off of like a gut feeling, I guess. Even this, like, this drapery now feels really off. I wonder, like, again, the way that I would bring this in is you have a tabard, right? But then there was also the talk of how paladins have tabards, so maybe I take the idea of a paladin having a tabard out to make room for this aesthetically. And then you can have this where it drops down, and that looks kind of cool. And then maybe the paladins just rely on like really gold armor. At this point, I'd see them almost being like a recolor. And I guess the problem is, as well, once you have these two, the overlap of these two class archetypes and identities are really, really close. And so later down the line, when it comes to expanding content horizontally, right, you have the option of bringing in like a priest, which is a clothy. But then these two classes, the paladin and the cleric, as far as making new gear for them, if you're going off a palette, then there's no opportunity for there to be like this sort of like grayish, I guess, paladin. I don't know. It feels very limited. I'm just exploring the problems that I see coming up. That's all. I don't want to rain on anyone's parade either. Really, I don't want to. Oh yeah, we talked about cloaks. Someone mentioned cloaks. So there's a possibility that this could be the kind of cloak that is made, where it kind of goes like this, over top of everything. Which is pretty cool, but it's also just a possibility. I can't promise anything because we might go back on it. So that, yeah, it's a tough. It's a tough balance because I can see how it would work, but I can also see some problems with it being like, if you have a cloak on, but then you don't have these other shoulders on, it's a good possibility that this cloak is going to look like it's kind of like floating above your character. See how there'd be like, there's like this layer where the cloak sits on his shoulders, and then beyond that there's this layer where the this like over the shoulder like area would sit in 3D space, and then you'd have the actual shoulders. And so if you take out this middle one, you're going to end up with something that looks like it's floating, and that's not good. And then there's also like some technical stuff that's like bridging that sort of thing as well. And maybe someone has an answer to that, but and then you could also do like, I suppose I could bring in no shoulders. And then also what happens when shoulders go over top of that? Does it look weird? Doesn't look too bad. There's like a break in logic a little bit where you're like, well, that cloak didn't have holes for that to exist or whatever, but it looks kind of cool. It's not too much breaky logic-y. One distinction though I do kind of like is that the cleric, please tell me, the cleric uses a staff, right? Am I? Blunt weaponry, so a mace. Okay. It's not too bad. Yeah, it's not too bad. It's like the Red Paladin. Yeah, I'm still gonna keep this aesthetic here. I think it looks too good to say no to. What happens if I add a circlet though? That's gonna step on the Enchanter aesthetic. Hood plus that, it would just be like a circlet, not a hood. So this guy is, so he can have a stave. Let's see. Right. Let's see. What are where does Warden fit in? One of the things I was like, I don't really know what Warden is. I saw the look of a Inquisitor, and I was like, I'm not so sold, but hey, it's Sean's thing, so. See, I'm telling you, man. Harrison, I'm fucking telling you. Warden is like a dual-wielding berserker savage with shamanistic power. Right now, wardens are a dual-wielding berserker savage with shamanistic power. Okay. Yeah, was it... Okay, two things. Harrison, just pulled this up. I'm just gonna... So... I'll post it here. Just pulled this up, which is the D&D, a D&D cleric, which is pretty close to the hood design. Telling you, man, pulling from archetypes, you're gonna get something similarly close. But aside from that, as far as class diversity, I kind of still feel, and you tell me what you guys think. Again, I know you guys are pretty hard against it. It seems like, at least, and so I'm trying my best to see what wiggle room I have. Not for the sake of wiggle room, but for the sake of diversity. I mean, class diversity and aesthetic diversity. But if you had a paladin that was allowed to wear, and sometimes even would be better for, like a hood like this, and then a cloak on top, that hits this aesthetic, right? Like, this could just be a paladin with a hood and cloak. You know what I mean? But then there's like a certain expectation when you have a good name like cleric tied to it as well. So it's a hard sell. Anyway, I'm gonna move on to another. I think playing around. I like this enough where I'm like, okay, this is a pretty good aesthetic. I don't want to play with too much like intricacies on armor and stuff like that. Yeah, exactly. Well, that's what I'm saying. Paladins are definitely more are helmeted, right? They are helmeted, but they would be able to wear cloth, right? And so, ergo, you could have a paladin playing almost as a cleric with a hood on. And it hits that aesthetic while having this whole other archetype being fulfilled on the side. The only reason I'm saying this is because they're really close. But I'm gonna move on from it. I think this right here hits it pretty close. I'm going to move on to the Enchanter, because I like the Enchanter aesthetic here. The hood plus crown, and then possibly the novice version of this would just be the crown. And so you get that sort of aesthetic, the circlet aesthetic existing. But it's not necessarily in the places that you'd expect as an EQ guy. Because that's the thing, like, we're not... It's another thing, that we're not remaking EQ. But at the same time, I do understand, there's aesthetics that are being played around with and everything that makes sense. Alright, what was I thinking for Enchanter? So like this. And something like this. I need to lock the layer. And then something like this. Yeah. Yeah, we are. I think there was I wonder what type of what kind of room there is to, like, there actually is. I know there's definitely like a strong feeling, you know, of attachment and everything that we have to respect, and everybody is definitely on the board of respecting, and I also want to respect it. So, like, that's why, you know, when it comes to this, I'll actually do the designs and see how people like it, because ultimately it's not up to me, but it, you know, like my aesthetic choice or whatever is it's gonna or not aesthetic choice, but my gut feeling isn't necessarily always the right way to go, right, for this project, for sure. And so certain things just gotta let go, like the chat thing. I might need to just let go. But then there's also this element that's like, I wonder how much we are talking for those players as well. Like I do wonder like how much of them are gonna go say like, actually, like, I like these and how they pay reference to, but not everything has to be the same. Or not even the same, I'm kind of wondering like how much is there to like go and create new things, sort of thing. Like, I was talking to Sean a little bit ago, and I was especially about some of this stuff. I thought about having like a what's it called? Like a whole other different class, you know, that was, you know, and that does start to feel like what's it called? Feature creep, for sure. And I've already done enough of that, to be honest, with the races. But I was like, well, what about these classes that I'm unsure about? You know, are they set in stone? And can I at least explore some other options without getting in trouble? And one of the options I kind of wanted to explore to see if it fit was Dancer, but again, I'm not sure. If that's an option. No, that was it. I thought I could probably fill one of the one of the archetypes that we had by either. I wasn't sure what the Warden archetype was going for at the time, but I thought Spellblade, you know, maybe it could fit there or something, but definitely wouldn't fit the Inquisitor. But again, you know, like this is me always really pushing. Yeah, Archer, I have a pretty good idea of how I want to tackle that guy. He's going to be a lot more structured than the Ranger. It's almost the Robin Hood aesthetic. Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing, like, I kind of wonder if there's a place where I can fit my own, like, like what's it called? Like, if we have them as sort of blank slates, I wonder if we have, like, I might have just been too late to the party, you know, and now we're with these, got to make them work sort of thing. And that's fine. I'm okay with that. But I started to think about Dancer. I didn't do a concept for him, and I might never do a concept for him. But I thought it could fit in like a martial / slightly magic support role or something. And yeah, again, unsure. I think I want this to be a little bit more on the red side. I think I want this to be a little bit more on the red side as well. And then this part of the cloak. That. There we go. Started off with a nice brown, but now we're going to end it with a yeah, something like that. I kind of like that. Yeah, I was saving blue for wizard, but again, there could be like a red wizard, and that could be like a fucking fire mage or something. I don't know. The only reason I went red was with this one was because I had the I ended up choosing red for the jewel, and I kind of like the idea of there being like a I'd imagine that they'd have different types of jewels, like maybe a blue jewel, and that blue jewel would like would affect how they'd have their colors in there. I'm kind of back and forth on mail leather for Rogue Bard. Let's see. I'm trying to think what that might look like. I've never seen. One second. Let's see. Rogue mail. Does almost, yeah, every sort of rogue that I know of, in almost all of fantasy, I guess, is where I'm going with it. I haven't seen a rogue wearing mail. It's always heavy leather or cloth. Oh yeah, I was gonna change the color here. I'll probably go like even a lighter or desaturated version of that. So that's pretty, like a combination of that. Let's do this. Do this, and then we'll go a little bit. Oh. We'll paste that. Oh. Paste. And we'll put in the same place. Oh. Is it there? Yeah, that works. Just slightly desaturated works a little bit. Alright, there we go. Well, really? Well, what I was thinking is if you do that, you do something like The Witcher, where they have the chain within the, what's it called? You have the chain that kind of like covers up the shoulder or something. So you have the chain texture within your cloth or within your leather or something. But I'm also worried about, like, at that point, I feel like you wouldn't want any loose chain, and if you can wear any chain, then that means, like, all chain now has to be designed around being within leather, and that feels really weird. You know, like, because they're able, is there, like, a rogue specification for chain? Where it's like, this will be, you know, and then if you don't have that, you just have, yeah, if you don't have that, then people are just gonna, there's gonna be the options where it's like, or not the options, but the what's it called? You're gonna have the fantasy basically be broken for some people that care about realism. And there's a certain amount of realism that like grounds fantasy, and one of those might be, like, I know a friend that would just kick my ass about that, but it might be the case that he has to kick my ass about it. Yeah. No, and I totally get it, but what I'm saying is that when you have options that aren't worn under those things for other classes, right? But the rogues can still wear those, and then that chainmail would be jingling jangling, and then the rogue's wearing that because he can, but he's still super sneaky. You know, it's just a situation where that could be completely avoided by having leather. But I do understand that also might not be important, and the nitpick is like too nitpicky. the Enchanter concept needs to have his legs a little bit. Say about there. Yeah. Yeah, and that's just where my brain goes to when that happens. But maybe that's because I have a Discord that's really focused on realism. So like people kick my ass about realism, about all my designs all the time, and like personally I've gotten very frustrated with that because like especially when I'm not designing for necessarily like realism in mind, or I have, let's say, you know, like if it exists or whatever, then you have to, there's ways to like to justify it in your mind or something like that. And then you have a group of people that that just have like this realistic sort of take on things, and that gets brought up to me a whole lot, or has in the past, so I'm very wary of it in certain circumstances, especially when I'm making something that's not just for me. So it could just be like a personal thing. That I'm sort of worried about it, but there's like so many things that are just super surprising to me, like that I've almost taken for granted based off of all the RPG tropes that I've been living with for the last, well, my whole life. It's like EQ has like these different takes on these RPG tropes, but yet it is very like it is one of the things that is like so classic in itself, you know. So I'm like, there's like the cleric took me by surprise a little, but then the bard really kicked my ass, and then because a plate wearing bard is just fucking wild to me. But then I was like, well, maybe you could wear a chest piece at least, you know. And but then there was then on top of that, the rogue throws me for this loop where he's wearing chainmail. And so I was like, yeah, so there's just one after another. So like, it's definitely surprising me. And I'm almost totally against like new for new's sake. If there's I want reasons to be doing it rather than like you know, ruining the old. Like I just watched the recent Cowboy Bebop what's it called? Or I didn't even watch it, but I saw it just get butchered, you know, in front of my eyes. And I'm like, they don't even understand the source material. Like, why are they doing this? And it just hurt my soul. So I'm very aware of that stuff. It's like, and I'm not even here's the thing, I didn't even watch Cowboy Bebop like before literally like this year, like on their ramp up for a Cowboy Bebop show. The movie showed up on Netflix, and I was like, I'll wait to watch that until I watch the series, because apparently you're supposed to watch it around the 24th episode. So okay, I'll wait to watch that. And then I waited to watch it, and it was really, really good. And like, I feel like I understand everybody's pain. Like, they carried that weight. You know, I didn't. Not really, but I also understand like how they're kind of butchering it too. Or they did butcher it. Yeah, I haven't watched it. The original series is a very, very good, well done piece of art. It's and the reason why it's good is because it truly is a piece of art. It's not like it's not a piece of entertainment. Okay. Yeah, that's the. So yeah, just so you guys know, I am definitely being thrown for a couple loops here, and it feels like it's nobody's fault but my own. So we have rogues with chainmail, plate bards, and plate clerics. Wait, hold on. What else? What else is there? Maybe it's time to get. It's time to get this sort of stuff out. You know, let's. What are the craziest stuff? Just give me something that's like. Yeah, the only reason I'm really here is because I know a classic sort of MMO type feel is uh is needed, and I want it, and everybody wants it, and they don't even know that they want it, and so I'm like, well, I want to bring that to them. Changing bards to a leather or chain class because they aren't really tanks in EQ. They have insane damage resistance or damage resistance because of plate, but they are also able to kite. Okay, that's a decision. start this off right. We have black. And we go gold over top, gold over top, gold over top, blue over top, blue over top, blue over top. And we go a bit of white. No, it's not completely white, but a little bit of that, a little bit of that, a little bit of that. Now we have I think there's an element of what's it called? I'm simultaneously confused, and I see like what's it called? Like things that I'm philosophies that I'm like working under that I'm unsure other people are also working under. So like when I say class, what's it called? When I say class diversity and variety, or race variety as like one of the biggest things, you know, I'm definitely thinking about like, okay, we want to have like something that fits. You want to marry like the aesthetic and then the gameplay balance of like different types of gameplay, but then you also want to marry like what's it called? You also want to marry the variation in between all of them, so there's tons of variety for players to try to jump into, where they're like, I want to play a healer, but I also want to do this, you know, and then that acts as like their thing. But then I'm also like, that could be a completely fucking like who cares philosophy, or even like a like in the case of the chat bubble thing, like totally just like what's it called, like we're anti that sort of thing. And I was just like, you know, just operating under this completely different philosophy, and I think I aligned most of the time. It's just on like more specific details that you know, I actually don't know the reasoning behind clerics and like what was the reasoning behind clerics and bards having this sort of thing? Was it just like like a fantasy thing, or did they want to allow for classes to have just insane what's it called, like variation within themselves, like being able to play a tank even though like you're not at all a tank? Or was it like they didn't really care that, like, you know, you could wear plate because you weren't going to use it, so why not? It looks cool. Like, I don't know the philosophy they were like working under, I guess. And I want to learn that. That's why I want to ask before I like go in and redesign everything. I like, these are just takes. I just want to mention, like, most of these are just different takes on things. Again, going off of like a gut feeling based off of classic fantasy tropes, and trying to hit generic as well as I can enough and care about it enough that it becomes iconic. Yeah, tell me, give me the lore, Nick. Nick gained my fucking insane respect when he came in and he was like, version 1.1 of WoW didn't have chat on by default, or had chat on by default. Like, he just fucking knew it. And I was like, Jesus. That's like a patch specific thing from fucking ages ago. That's wild. And maybe you Googled it, I don't know. But it really impressed me. The Toro MUD, yeah. Multi-user dungeon. Was it multi-user dungeon? I forget what it stood for. Okay, yeah. I watched a couple videos on what am I doing? Oh, right, yeah. Need to do this. I watched a couple videos on EQ and where its history is from and everything, and yeah, so there's some stuff that I'm aware of, but I'm guessing they had Bard with male, because multi-user dungeons didn't really have to deal with aesthetics, did they? I mean, aesthetics of the mind. It was like writing a book. But they didn't have to design it visually. Yeah. So it's like plate wearing bards was like, they're like, hey, plate wearing bards is fucking sick. Maybe this? Let's take a look. Did bards in 2nd edition are able to wear plate? Trying to find. Pious nature, different skills, jack of all trades, including chainmail, but he cannot use a shield. Any ARP 2, including chainmail. And then someone was like, well, chainmail bards, why can't they just put on an extra plate thing? And then it just escalated. Alright, kind of like this, the way that the Enchanter looks. I'm gonna finish off some of this coloring here, and then I'm gonna swap over to it. I'm gonna try drawing a new class, designing out a new class. I think a leather bard feels right. Pushing it would be a chain bard. I could see how it could work. But yeah, leather bard and leather rogue feel right to me. But maybe a chain rogue is the way to go. And also, there's this idea of, and let me know if you think this is fucking dumb. All right, so rogue, right? Totally fits in into leather usually, And in your case, it's yeah, we're gonna push it to chain. But then beyond that, what about going the opposite way? What if you went from leather to cloth and you had a cloth rogue, but then called him a thief? So it's like a cloth thief. And you could have a whole aesthetic based off of that. I'm just fucking out to lunch. Never mind. God. I need to learn when to shut my mouth. Yeah, sturdier arm fits him. Yeah, thief would probably be like I don't know, avoiding any damage at all costs. Yeah, the only thing that bothers me with that is it's mostly the sneak thing. That's mostly it. To be completely honest, it's just the sneak thing. I think this. That's true. That's true. So there's this element. I want to bring this up again. So with Bard, Sean and I were talking about Bard wearing chain. No, Bard wearing plate. And I thought to myself, well, that's a weird aesthetic to design around. Like a really weird, like anti-classic when I think about it sort of thing. And I mean like classic in the sense of what EQ was using as its reference point, not calling EQ classic. So it's as if we're transferring ourselves back to EQ times and saying, what are the references here? And so a plate bard makes very much little sense to me, except for maybe like a chess piece. And so one thing that I was saying was, if we design something around like the best possible thing, right? Being, let's say, leather or something along those lines. A bard wearing leather. Then but it doesn't exclude him, a bard wearing plate. With the amount that you guys seem to like and have seen other players like wear basically, you know, the mix match of different things, like, would I be able to design an aesthetic around leather, but then and have that be, let's say, the end goal, which is like this all leather piece if you wanted to go best in slot or something? And I'm not saying that that's what the end game sort of things. I know we're not necessarily going for huge end game stuff, and I'm fine with that and actually good with that. But what I mostly mean is, like, it doesn't stop him from wearing plate. You know what I mean? So it's like you can still, but the aesthetic that I want to build around doesn't mean that it's going to be best in slot. Best in slot is, I mean, like in terms of like aesthetic, is like um, it's like, you know, people will sacrifice the aesthetic for the best in slot and therefore look way different from the end of than what a bard, you know, let's say should look like by the end. Like when you see a bard and he's super high level or whatever, and you're just starting out and he's wearing like you know, a bunch of plate stuff and looks nothing like a bard, and you're like, wait, that looks like a paladin, what the hell? You know, like people will be like, well, that's kind of weird. Like you want them to look like the most iconic version of their class is what I'm getting at, I guess. And I'm wondering if you guys so it's like it still exists, it works, you can do it, but it's not the like what it's not like the most iconic version of that class. I think what happened was that bard plate colors made it so you could tell it was a bard. And this is me trying to find some sort of compromise. I know if Padas is here still, Harrison, if you're still here, yeah, I'd like your opinion, because you seem to be like really invested in it a whole lot, and that's the kind of person that I want to make sure that I please, right? Word. I can go over it again if you missed it and we're focusing on doors. Okay, so the idea is that the how would I phrase this? I want to phrase this nicely so you can. Oh, word. Yeah, me too. Yeah, I want to phrase this with the correct. All right, so if you have, oh, this. Sorry, I noticed something and I need to fix it. If you have, let's say, if I go and design what I think is the most like iconic version of a class or whatever, right? And that kind of means that when people play the game and they end up having the most powerful X or whatever, it's supposed to look like that iconic version of the class. And in this case, for Bard, it would be leather. Let's say it could be chainmail, but it would, just for example's sake, I guess, it would be leather. But that doesn't exclude them, you know, from wearing chain or wearing plate. You know, they can still do it. It's an option that exists, where it's like, you know, screw it, I want to wear plate. It makes sense that I wear plate because my tank keeps on dropping aggro, or something along those lines. Like, you know, it fits for each character, you know, to push the rules and say, no, I'm gonna wear plate actually. You know what I mean? So the aesthetic that you want, or that I would be designing for, is leather, and that would be like the most iconic bard. However, it doesn't exclude you from wearing plate if you want to on your character. Would that be like is that something that interests you? Maybe this hood is a little bit too cartoony here. Relax on it. That fits. It fits a whole lot better. Much more realistic. Honestly, it doesn't matter as much to me anyway. I think it comes down to deciding what class wears because of the. I think it comes down to deciding what the class wears because if the iconic look says leather, but their best class specific armor is chain or plate, you get a disconnect between aesthetic and a game mechanic. Yeah. Yeah, you want the best to be what it's designed for, like aesthetically. Totally. Let's have this and do this. And then, oh, hold on. I kind of like this. I kind of like this. This Enchanter look. Well, I also think it needs to, like, I need to be doing it as well. Or else what I think would happen is that this sort of thing would end up being something that's the afterthought. I mean, the art, and that sort of thing, which I think is ultimately like I think a whole lot more people would play EQ. Like a whole lot more people would play EQ if it looked really fucking good. Like if it animated really, really good, and it hit the aesthetics that everybody was like classic fantasy, you know? Like I know people would play a whole lot more of it. So that's kind of why I'm actually really into this. But yeah, as far as being here for the art and everything, there we go. It needs to kind of be here. I feel like I'm kind of like I joined at the right moment. Alright, Enchanter looks good. I like him. I like the aesthetic of the rounded shoulders, but it's still the crown, and then the staff or whatever having this like straightness to it. This gem like aesthetic. Looks really good. Oh yeah, alright, I said I was going to draw something. What do you guys think about the Druid, actually? What I am going to do is what I wanted to do with the Druid before, was I have this specifically. I need to grab this first. This specifically, I wanted to bring down in size. Something like that. So this was my take on the Druid. So you have this slight kind of going up, which makes me think a little bit of like what's it called? But it's also kind of like, it's just slight up. Let's see, I'm gonna take this and just down a bit. H, and then this. There we go. Yeah, what do you guys think of the Druid? And then also, what do you guys think of the Shaman? I don't want to be over pronounced in a lot of things. So with the Druid, a lot of the reason was like to have this nice like, what's it called? Like a bit of order to it. This, the direction out up here, it's like a little bit upward, and it's very elegant, and so I kind of like that idea. I like the Shaman, but the shoulders are probably getting a little too... Oh, yeah. So that's one thing that I wanted to do really quickly. So I also had this one. As I wanted to take this shape design that I had here, because I wanted the idea of, like, them being... what's it called? I wanted the idea of them being, like, these horizontal lines. Going across, but I definitely do understand that they were the wrong definitely the wrong, what's it called, sizing. They need to be super subtle in comparison, like something like this instead. Let's see, like just even that might be a little bit too much, but something like this where it's like just slight, It's still enough to have the shape read as horizontal. It's still realistic, or not realistic, but grounded or something. And this is something that I was like I realized, a while ago. I was like, oh no, this needs to be super calmed down. Even this, like almost all the giant shapes that I've been pulling out needs to be like just relaxed on. Just brought down. So like that feels much better. For this, that was the drawing take. So with the Shaman, we have this this take where you have the head and the shoulders kind of here, but then you have these lines coming across like that, and I really liked the way that that looked and felt for like a Shaman aesthetic. And then you have that as well across the chest for Shaman pieces across the chest. Trying to nail down this part is the most important, I think, because it is what can define the shape like the most. And then as well, we'd bring in some chain for the Shaman. Possibly even here. Yeah, something like that, I don't know. I do like the Shadow Knight having the larger horns on the helmet. That's like an insane aesthetic, right? That's like a huge thing. Even those aren't like, as far as shape goes, like these guys, they take up like this whole area, right? But these guys, they're kind of like, it's kind of like lending itself to like its downward or spiral. So it's like taking up half the space, so it actually feels pretty good. Really quick, what's a class you want to see? I've done some takes on all of them as far as like basic aesthetic. So I can show you. I'll do like another one by choice. Just hit me with one and I got it. Well, except for Warden. I haven't thought of Warden yet. It's like a berserker. Ooh. Ranger or Rogue? Alright, I have both. Anybody else? Nick? Ranger or Rogue? Out of those two, what would you choose? Oh, Nick might be not here. Let's go. Yeah, we're asking Ranger or Rogue. Ranger. What do I have for Ranger? Or is there a certain race that you'd like to see on Ranger? Or Ranger on, I mean. Human, probably? Yeah. At one point I had someone wear a coif. 1 second. It would have been the let's see, there was the archer, bard, cleric, druid, elementalist, enchanter, fighter. I think it was the spellblade I decided was koi. Is spellblade chain? All right, hold on. I can check the Slack. Yeah, that was what it was. Ranger is also male though. Yeah. Let's give this guy a little bit of a beard here. You could probably have it. One of the things with archers is I wanted to do this sort of thing. But with rangers, definitely not. I don't like the idea of the ranger having armor that kind of goes, instead of out from his shoulder, kind of instead is plopped onto this part of his shoulder. It goes up instead. Or at least maybe down, I mean, something like this. That might be reserved for the rogue though. It also might not even be worth it. Something that these guys could have is like instead of like their own geo for the armor on the shoulder or something, they have the armor like into this. I think one of the classic ways to approach what's it called? To approach something like a ranger is definitely the this thing where they have like these cloth legs. So this would actually share geo with the robe. this part, I mean, but it would be done. It would be designed so it cuts off. So like the rogue geo would like go like this or whatever. But then as far as this goes, it would kind of go out like this, and then transparency it about there, and you'd cut it off, and it would look really good. Oh, I am thinking something like this. One of the things that happens that I'm unsure about is there's a lot of repeated patterns in some of the art takes that we've had that were before me, and I'm just unsure about that as a design decision. Like, I'm very much more about simplicity and letting the material speak for itself rather than like put material on material on material. There's room for that, but I think it has to be done like with taste. So that's going to be a main difference for me, at least. And this part will definitely be. Let's see, something like this. Just gotta get the feet right here. The boot right. Something like that. I'm unsure about this. Maybe half calf or something would probably be better. Maybe their legs are. This leg is too long. And that means that leg's too long. Let's take that back up like this. Yeah, something like that. Or are we gonna have what's it called? Quivers. We gotta have quivers. Let me spend some extra time on the quivers so it makes its case for itself. So this was the. I think I could even push that a little bit more. The shape here. It's also possible that I cut off the top of his head a little bit too much. Down. So his nose is a little bit bigger. It's like a slight... Alright, hold on. How to do this professionally. Have the eyes covered up. Oh, that didn't work. I think what's ended up happening is I wanted to push this square part a little bit too heavy, and therefore it looks like the hood isn't quite looking as I wanted it to. And I also wanted it to do a little bit more like this. So we get even less of his face like that. And a little bit just like that. So it's a very delicate dance to get. And then this has to somehow translate into 3D. Not saying he's gonna have war paint, but just playing with some things. Yeah, something like that, and then something is just off about this face. I need to restart just to make sure that the body's fine, but when in doubt, just restart. There we go. Oh, that's much better. We have this. And then we have this part where probably we could get away with even the chainmail. Stick it through like that. Nice. And then we choose. Now let me know, what do you guys think about this part, because what I've done is Because I'd imagine that the rogue is going to be a whole lot more, was it sharp? I've angled these parts a whole lot less than I possibly could. Like, for example, like this part could probably come down like this instead. Actually, that feels a whole lot better for a ranger. Because it's like you're simultaneously designing like all the other classes when you design a single class, I guess. Like you're thinking about them and being like, oh, I can't do that as like a answer to my question because X, you know? Because another class has that aesthetic taken. Seeing someone walking towards a supermarket encumbered with big ass low poly backpack. Hell yeah. There's just a fucking... just a chest. Treasure chest. And then this would be whatever, you know, whatever design that you'd want. Let's see, probably like a feather or something, or a leaf. I haven't decided. Doesn't need to actually be designed after any motif, to be honest. Unless it's like specifically from another place. So if it was, it would actually just have a generic sort of look to it, wouldn't it? Like, you know. Oh, and this could, there could be chain under here or something. Or that could be chain itself. So this could be chain. So instead of that. Something like that. And then these arms here could also be tilted up. And that means from the front, you're tilting downwards like that, sort of. Or you could do the other way around, I guess. Let's try. What does it look like the other way around? Seems more the other way around, so it comes up on the sleeves instead. Feels like it would be more practical, but I'm not sure how cool it looks. But it would also mean that when because you're in a character third-person view, you're seeing your character mostly from the behind. So, that would work actually. God, so many jumps up and downs with design. It's good. If you did have this sort of treading or whatever, trim, was it trim? Yeah, if you did have that sort of trim, it would be very, very thin. If it was leather, it's not. You'd have a little piece of cloth over your chainmail, I'd assume. Those are chain. Those are made of chain, right? Yeah, let's chainmail this part up. Yeah, it feels like it, but I'm wondering, like, where's the magic? You know, what's the magic? Where is it in a ranger like this? You know what I mean? Is it little? I kind of like, I like him, but I'm also like, come on, there's something more in here. Also, I have to get going a little bit here soon. I just have a, yeah, go pick someone up, so I'll probably be back in a bit. But I don't know. Maybe I might stream. I might stream some more. I just wanted to get this character kind of, or do that extra character. A little bit lighter here. A little bit darker here. Something like that. And a little bit lighter at the top here. Something that shows just a little bit of that. Okay, cool. That's cool. Cool. Oh, right. I almost forgot. These hands definitely need to be darker. And once you have that, that's more of the magic that I wanted. There we go. Filling it in, making him a little bit darker, giving the materials a little bit more accurate look. That fills him out. Looks so much better. Alright, so we have sort of this take. Is there anything that I'm just really screwing up here? Oh, we haven't even got into weapon types. I'm assuming you guys... Wait, Spear? Spear, yes or no? Spear's annoying because it doesn't share any animations with anything else. Most people don't have spears. they do have spears, they usually share animations with something dumb, like a two-handed mace. Oh, I'm asking if we even have spears. Okay. Sorry, I probably just insulted future selves, which was mentioning about spears. It wasn't an insult to us or our future selves or people that use spears or whatever. I'm just saying they're a difficult weapon to deal with because aesthetically they're quite different technique wise in comparison to two-handed anything else. Lots of jabs and staying at a distance and all that stuff that requires extra work, basically, on the artist side. Not a jab at anyone. If you're listening, Bethesda. Okay, I think that actually works pretty good. I'm actually not a fan of the chainmail here. I think we could probably fill this with something else that's not chainmail. Something like that. And it's like a... button-up shirt or something. And then I need to add in this back highlights here and there to make it fit. Anyway, I'll probably just make it lighter in general. Do some of this. Alright, okay. That's kind of what I wanted to look like. I think the Ranger, it's... Oh, hold on. Something's really off, and I just realized. His head was too big. By a smidge, his head was too big. And by smidge, that means by a lot. Alright, okay. That's the idea for the Ranger, we'll say. So he uses both cloak and the over shoulders cloak in his design, but with transparency on to hit these specific what's it called? Those specific angles and aesthetics to make him very iconic looking. Iconic for a Ranger. Alright. I'm about to head out. Thanks for joining me with this exploration with Cleric. I did a lot of moaning while I worked on it, but I think it actually looks pretty good. But definitely things to talk about. And then Enchanter, of course, as well. I like the Enchanter. I haven't heard much from other people here, so I'm assuming that there's going to be some problems, but that's okay. And then Ranger here as well. kind of fun. And then we have some Bard and Druid. I think Druid's one of the strongest. Shadow Knight, I can't wait to actually paint him like this, because once I paint this Shadow Knight kind of like this, he'll look really cool. He'll look really specific. Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Necromancer is going to be very fun. And then Wizard's going to be very fun as well. Wizard's kind of like super long cloak. I'm really excited about that. And then, let's see. Yeah, the Bard will be pretty fun to play with, and that's going to be rough to attack the plate Bard if it's still on the table when I get to it. I'll do both. I'll do both concepts, but yeah, it's just gonna be difficult here and there. Is that it? Is that all that I had to show? Yeah, pretty sure. All right, sorry. Thank you, everybody. I'll talk to you guys later, and enjoy your night. I might stream again tonight, but if I don't, goodbye. Goodbye.